Reminder that trading is risky. Use risk capital you can afford to lose if you're playing this game. This is E for eMiniWizard.com and MarketWizards.com. All right, a reminder, 98 and a quarter, last year's high. We said, let's use this idea of 98 as our first resistance zone. It's an aggressive idea. And more than likely today, we'll probably get a two-way day, but more than likely pullbacks will get bought. But there are two dynamics in play. The first is obviously the long run that we've had. And the second is Powell speaking later. So we've got 89.5 as our middle and also half gap. And we're going to use this zone right here from, say, 92s to 89 as make sure you are paid. We're not looking for a killer short. I think it's going to be choppy. I don't think it's a cakewalk to just close your eyes and buy. But I do think that we have to think risk two, make two type trading right now. This chart should encourage the longs. That support is just underneath us. And if we break this 89 area, then obviously that opens the door to come south side. But this is our base chart. And I think range type trading with the idea of if you're buying this neck of the woods, you're hoping to get challenged at 98 and a quarter to 02. And it may take some time. Just maybe we need to build a base here. Climb the stairs as instead of just a punch. But I do think one more shot at buying pullbacks. And then as we approach the news later today, we want to make sure we're not just thinking of holding on. I think at some point longs need to take some profits, ahead of news. And if they don't, they don't. Worst thing you can do is now think that these are easy longs after we had the opportunity to buy so much lower. Because risk and reward starts to come in. That's the problem. So it's just as hard playing long as it is playing short. And that's really the truth about execution in this type of a market. And you can see that piano keys already. Black, white, black, white. And I'm suggesting again, if you are playing risk two, make two. And you don't have to trade. You don't have to play if you don't like this type of a setup. We had a gap we had talked about, 96.5. That's been closed. And I think in this environment, you can hold a trailer, but you're probably going to do just as well to just risk a couple, get paid after a couple. If you can get two, put in your pocket, accumulate. Normally, we like to half gap trades. And although I think that's doable, I still think that the agenda is to try to buy pullbacks and try to squeeze a bit higher. I think we've still got trap shorts, and that's part of the dynamic going on right now. The big problem is the psychology area at 2,700. So I would not overtrade. in a smaller range overnight kind of cautions us about thinking too big right now. Okay, this is our weekly predictive model. And we had said that 56.25, this dynamic would be very important. That is held. Remember the 55s? We said 55s, 52 support. That is held. We've taken out the 75s. We said that box yesterday. This was our fighting box yesterday. If we could hold into the close, get above that 75, and we're in this box. Top of this box is 95.25. 75, 76 support, and we're trying to punch into the next box. It's based on a weekly predictive model. And so I think this next box up is our key resistance zone. I think risk and reward, we need to start to tune in to this neighborhood as going to be a lot tougher to get into and hold. And if I'm wrong, I'm wrong. This high right here is going to be a key to get above and then hold. And then slightly above that, we can see this breakdown. That's a retest by 10. So I think that this zone up here is going to be the key resistance, and longs, especially after news comes out later, pay attention to that. If we can get above this line, then anything goes up here. You can see all this was black, black, black. All this was unauctioned territory, just so fast. But I still think we've had a pretty hefty bounce and probably need some backing and filling. Just my own opinion, for whatever it's worth. Much harder to be gung-ho long here than when we first started a couple of days ago. And if you looked at the notes in the room this morning, I said, technically this is Taylor Day 3, which typically is for selling. But with the boys' agenda and the window dressing perhaps at the end of the month, much harder to believe that for a big pullback. So I'm going to caution both sides to think limited range as the market tries to understand, do we really want to penetrate above and stay above? And that's another thing. Just getting above it doesn't mean you stay there. Just like pushing the beach ball down doesn't mean you stay there. So these hot air balloons sometimes get a little bubble that's broken and we come backwards. So for now, all I'm going to do is look at the current range idea that we put in place, 98 to 02 as our first resistance targets. And on the backside, obviously, this 92 to 88. We can get back to 92s to 88, feel blessed. 2-way day. And that dynamic escapes a lot of traders. You can't just think one way. You have to think about the bigger picture, and you have to think about two ways. You have to try to make the case for the longs, and you have to try to make the case for the shorts. And then if there's something that you like, you say, okay, that makes sense. Let me try nibbling at the high end short side, or let me try buying the pullbacks. Grab a couple. 89.5 is our half gap. And I'm suggesting anybody that gets to the 92s paid for sure. And then the gravy part is getting back into that 89.5, 88 zone. And we're using 84 as our gap. Very choppy as we thought it might be. Got rising moving averages. That makes plunging difficult. You get a news event, you can do that, but it still makes plunges difficult on the short side. And a reminder, we posted very early today. Chasers today, be careful. Tighten up your stops. We said that. Make sure you paid either options or if you're playing position or swing, tighten up your stops. And I'm not proposing we're going to plunge. Just doesn't make sense to, if you took the risk, not to get paid for taking that risk. And a reminder, we can push through and bleed through into territory above and still come back. Just like these trades, go up, but still can come backwards. Go up and still can come backwards. Can you hold into that territory that really, counts? Way too early in the day to make any posturing about what's going to happen with speech later and so on. All I know is we've got trap shorts that are being dragged along. So as long as we can look at a bigger chart like this and see some kind of evidence of a trend line, and we want to respect that traders are trapped, and that you should be able to see. That's a fairly obvious one. And then if you skew that and take it down from a couple other places from a different day, you can also get a little bit more stable line. Got to have at least 2 to 3 points touching. Pretty neutral open. Anybody's tried for the half gap trade, really not a bad swing, trying to get close to it at 89.5, about a point away. Makes just as much sense for that, we said, as it does to try to buy the highs. Problem still has been the moving averages that are trying to hold and support. But anytime you're buying the highs, hoping for higher highs, you always risk, obviously, being the last one holding the bag. That's why I thought today would be a very challenging open. And we said no guarantee, even if we do buy a pullback, it's going to give us the reward today that we're looking for. And reduce your expectations is the best idea I can give you right now. And this is typical of the boys too. They'll get you within an inch of where you want to go and give you the ball. Do not overtrade. I think the market's going to wait a bit for Powell. I'm not expecting a plunge, but I am thinking we're chopping. A tough range overnight. We've already climbed up close to the targets. And anybody that just thinks you can buy here and close your eyes and going to go get those targets immediately, that's how we get ourselves in trouble, making that assumption. First things first, we said we need to get above 98 and a quarter. And we'll look at that 02 to 03 target. So that's resistance until broken, that zone. Then we'll worry about those other targets. Shorts need to undermine this 88, 89 and a half area.